weird here. Just resize some stuff. So how we will do this, I will firstly explain to you the environment and like all the services and the directories, and give you a brief intro on a simple TM1 model we are gonna connect to, and give you an overview about the Canvas framework, which is our Angular platform, which we would like to extend a bit. And after that, I'm going to explain the tasks to you. So I've basically prepared 3 tasks, but I'll get to that later.
Okay.
So in terms of, I'm already connected to a cloud server. So the server is actually based in Hong Kong.
Okay.
If Anil joins as well, we'll clone that machine so that everyone has the exact same environment, but that's going to be basically exactly the same server you're going to get access to, and can then use to prepare the assessment.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So let me just close this and go in again. So in terms of TM1, don't know whether you looked it up in the meantime, but I keep it pretty simple and just explain what it is, what it does. And I think in terms of the task you're gonna have to do, so it will be pretty clear. So you should like roughly understand what TM1 is there in the background, but yeah, with the examples we go through, I guess it shouldn't be an issue, hopefully.
Yeah.
So the only tool you actually might want to use to just reconcile some numbers or look up something is this tool called Architect. This is basically, so if you compare it to a relational database, it's like a database browser like SQL Server Management Studio for TM1.
Okay.
And the one instance, so these are multiple servers in TM1 here, only that one Canvas sample is of interest, so all the tasks work with that particular database.
Okay.
You log onto it by just double-clicking. It's admin, no password, but you'll get an email with all of this, like where's the locations, like all the database names and stuff, so you don't have to remind it and you don't have to take notes. So in TM1, so first thing to note, we have cubes. So all the data is stored in cubes as opposed to tables, what it would be in a relational database. What is a cube? Yeah, you can think of a cube pretty much like a cube, really. So it's multidimensional, the data in there, and that means a cube has dimensions. So let me actually, let's stick with this one. Oh, better another one. Let's take a general ledger cube, so which would have financial data in it.
Okay.
And it has dimensions, which in this case is version, year, period, currency, a region, department, account, and then a measure dimension.
Okay.
So I just double click on the cube and it opens up the cube. So I've prepared one view here in that cube, and this view is actually going to be used, or the data out of that is actually going to be used in one of the tasks. And the dimensions you have seen, so we can essentially say what do we want to see in rows, what do we want to see in columns. In this case, we have a couple of regions here, Europe, Scandinavia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and in the columns here we have the versions, which in this case are actual, budget, and last year.
Okay.
The cube has more dimensions, and the other dimensions are now here in the title element. And you could essentially select it, select a single period. So like if I open up this is currently set to year, which means total year. I could set it to January, refresh, and it then only shows values for January, for instance. Likewise, I could change to another year. I could change to another account. So instead of net sales, I could look at gross profit. It has a currency here, and we have departments here. So, and now in TM1, you can not only look at the data in this tabular format, but the whole purpose of it is really to drag and drop dimensions around and look at the data from different angles. So for instance, I could go here and drag the version up into the title element so that I can then only select a single one like actual, and instead bring the year, or let's maybe take the period dimension in here, refresh it, and then I would have a completely different view, which is all actuals, but I have the year and the individual month in the columns now. Then I can do more things, like I can stack the data. So you won't have to work with that front end actually, but it's just to show you how the data is stored in there, because to roughly understand that concept, it will be essential to do the task and understand where does the data come from and where is it stored. So I've just dragged another dimension so we can stack them, and then in this view I could see total Europe, actual budget last year in rows, and then see the complete phasing throughout the year as well at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically cell-based. Think of a cube with cells, and you can always have you will always have a full definition where a number comes from. So like in this case, it would be clearly the number for Scandinavia, February, and all the selections up here. So that defines the data point in the cube.
Okay.
So, and you will later see that is how we query the data from TM1 as well. Next important thing about the dimensions and what TM1 is very good at is consolidating. Like in you see here we have total Europe. I can expand and collapse it, and I see the total here, and I can drill down on it, and I see it has Scandinavia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe underneath, and I can drill further into it as well, and down to regions. Yeah, and this is called like a hierarchy. If I double click on region here, you see the hierarchy with its elements. So we have total Europe, Scandinavia, all the orange ones here are totals, sums. So there's basically two different element types. The blue ones are what we call leaf level. That's the lowest level. That's where the actual value is stored. And the other ones are basically roll-ups, totals. But unlike in a relational database, we only have to define it in the dimension, these roll-ups, and then the totals will be calculated instantly. So we don't have to do anything else. We just create that hierarchy in any of the dimensions, and then whenever we query data from Scandinavia, we'll always get the total of everything that is underneath. And if I query United Kingdom, I will always get a total of these elements in the cube.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Any questions till here?
No, it's perfect actually. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. It usually takes a while. I mean, it sounds quite easy, but it usually takes a little bit until people get their head around that multidimensional logic, because most people are used to the relational way of storing the data, and this is quite
Totally.
different from it.
Yeah, it's quite different actually. Yes.
So, and we have these hierarchies and roll-ups usually in most of the dimensions. Like here I have departments, they have the same thing, so I can browse the same data by departments as well.
Okay.
So this has only data on sales and marketing because it's net sales. Display this here and look at the net income. I should see some more. So see the net income here. Can drill down by departments, and you probably get that feeling. That's why TM1 is like super good for analysis. Yeah. So because we store the data in a way which suits itself a lot better to analyzing data than relational databases, because everything is set up in here and we can view the data from every different angle without writing different queries. It's really that cell-based approach.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. So that's cubes and dimensions. Within the dimensions, we save subsets. I'm telling you this, subsets are just a number of lists. So it can be department list is now here just these elements. We almost always have a default subset. That's what it opens up with. And I also have prepared one custom structure that's going to be relevant in a task as well. And that is another important point. If we have, like we can roll up the same elements into different consolidations and sort of have a parallel structure in there. Yeah. So, for example, cost centers or accounts, and you would want to arrange them in two different ways. Like one of the tasks, but I'll go into more details later, is we take all these elements and map them into a custom structure.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, and one task is to build a front end for that. Okay. That's it about cubes for now. So that's one, like actually the main thing about TM1 having those cubes. I won't go into details. Like you see, you can also create rules on it and perform calculations within that cube, but that's not going to be one of your tasks, and I'm not going to explain anything about rules, so we keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
So cubes, dimensions, applications we also don't talk about, so you can ignore it. Cubes is important, and the only other thing you will have to work with is a process. So processes, they can do anything really, and you don't have to modify or customize or write a new process or anything. So all you need to know is with processes we can perform actions in TM1, such as copying data from one cube to another, updating a dimension, creating new elements, and a lot of other things. So it's pretty flexible. We use it a lot for data imports and other things. But what is important for you is from the canvas front end, like one of the functions is to execute processes in TM1 with an API call, basically, and that's what you will have to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I'll go through that example later when I explain the tasks in more detail.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's all you're gonna know. Architect,
Mm-hmm.
cubes, and processes. Keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
If you should ever experience, I gotta refresh this list here, and if you should ever experience it's not showing up or not reacting, I'll write you the service name down as well, but each of these TM1 servers is basically a Windows service, and
So
the
you have
one
like restart.
here, yeah, you could just restart it and then it would just reset the thing. I'll scroll too far. So that's actually the one. Yeah, you could just restart it and it would be fairly quick. So
Okay.
probably only yeah, less than a minute, certainly. Probably only seconds to restart it, and yeah, just in case you need to resolve problems.
Okay. Okay.
So let's now have a look into Canvas. It's readily installed, has a license in it, so it should all work. It runs on port 8080. I've also opened that port 8080 in the firewall, so if you have the IP, you can use the browser on your local computer if you prefer it, or do whatever you want with it. But it runs on port 80, and if we just open this URL in the root directory, that's basically a blank application. I just played around with one task here, but it should be, I think I didn't save it. So it's a blank application, and that's where you can build the tasks in there.
Okay.
There's also, I'll show you these two things first. If you go /samples, and again, you're going to get all those links with my email.
Okay.
You're going to find quite a few samples. So it has a menu system here, and we have samples here, and a lot of components and readily built dashboards. So if you want to look up the code, see how it's done in there, get some ideas how to do stuff. So this is a good place to go to in these samples, and then use that as a starting and lookup point. Another thing is, of that menu again, there is a help section. So it's basically available in each instance. You go /help, and what this is, it will explain all the components. So let me just pick up one to show you what that looks like. TM1 UI sub NM, for instance. It's one component, and then you get a description, you get an example of the usage of that directive. So for the cases where you might want to use an already existing directive, but one task is also about building a new component.
Okay.
So this, for example, just to show you what this one does, if I go samples, and then I have a sample here for sub NM, it automatically will come up with the login. It's just the same. That's the TM1 login, because the system, like everything, every elements that are displayed, every data that is displayed, it's fully relying on the TM1 security, and that's why we use the TM1 login here as well. So the sub NM has a couple of functions, but it's essentially exactly the same what you have here, where we have a filter and can choose a different year, for instance. Yeah. So that's what the sub-NM, TM1 UI sub-NM component represents in, I have any data in here, 11, 12. That's what it represents. And we then just have a couple of options. So in the simple architect cube viewer, you only have a drop down and can select one element, and here we have more functions.
Okay.
Like this is, we can search for it. This is, for example, goes to the dimension account. The TM1 instance is called def here. That's sort of an alias, but it's that canvas sample that we have. And it has a subset net income. So if we look at exactly the same account, that's the dimension. You can see it up here. And the subset is net income. So that's the list that we're going to get here. So we see this.
Oh.
Let me maybe just rearrange this side by side. So you can see it's using the bootstrap grid here as well with the components. So this is now a flat list, but you can see exactly the same elements in the same order in here, right?
Oh, yes, the parent elements, yes.
So you can see those, and it's only because we define here, it's that TM1 instance, it's the dimension account, and it's the subset net income I've selected here. And then it has options like this one has show hierarchy set to false. That means we only get a flat list. If it's not set to false, by default it would be true. We get exactly the same hierarchy, and we can drill down here and expand, collapse the elements just like we could here. And we would then use that sub-NM to put something into an NG model and then use it in our page to filter up there by an account in this case, and then display all the rest of the data in there. There are a couple of more options, like we can just with an option, if we have a short list, like for currency here.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at this, goes to the dimension currency. Subset is default, so the one we are seeing here. And then by turning on an option like TM1 radio only vertical, instead of having the drop down, we get this option
radio
fields.
Yeah.
These radio buttons, but we can again connect it to an NG model. So, and in cases where we want to use that component, which makes sense for cases like this where you only have a few elements, then we can use that as well. And then there are some more options that you can look into yourself. It's just like to show how it hangs together and how we represent components of TM1 in that Angular front end.
Yeah, okay.
So let me just go here, not here. This. And let me quickly jump into the help again. So these are all the directives. So quite a few. You sure won't use all of them. Only a fair few will become more clear when we go through the tasks. And then we have two filters in here as well, but one very powerful thing is the service that we have in Canvas. Obviously the directives all use the service, and all the rest happens in the background. But if you create custom components, i.e. new directives, the service is what you would use. I mentioned earlier, so like, for instance, where's my search box? There. Execute. That's another one. Process. Yeah. So you might need for one task to execute a process. And there's that function that we provide in the service, where we basically also say it's the instance, name of the process, and then you can pass in parameters and run that process.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll show an example. I'm going to run the process that is necessary for one of the tasks later, and then it might make more sense. And so there's heaps of functions. You can look around. You obviously will only need very few of those, but it's all documented here in the help, and that's available under this URL.
Okay.
So next thing I would like to show.
So it's basically like we'll be running. So far, like what I did, like I run the whole Angular application through Node actually. So, but here we will be running through Windows services, right?
So the whole thing, the Kubewise application server, that is what that stands for, is a Tomcat server.
Okay.
So it's installed. Everything is here in the web apps folder. So you only have root and samples.
Okay.
Samples is that one. Root is the other one. And the service for that is here. So in case you need to restart that, that's this one, Kubewise application server. But again, you get the name of the service as well.
Okay.
So, and in case you obviously want to play around with it and create a backup, try something out, obviously you would know that, but you obviously have to just duplicate your root folder into another folder, restart the service, and then you're going to have another instance to play around with or try things differently. So that's all up to you.
Okay.
Everything is pretty much set up in there, and I will show you in a minute how you can create like a new page if you wanted to. So like you don't have to bother for the moment with URL routing and stuff. So that's all done.
Okay.
One thing just to point that out, so we have an instances JSON file in the webin folder. That's just where the connection is set up. So that's where we call the instance def. So that's the instance you refer to, and the actual server name doesn't turn up, but TM1 is configured for the canvas sample so that it runs on port 8882.
Okay.
That's the REST API port, and that's basically all that needs to be set up here. Yeah, but you don't have to touch it. I'm just telling you so that you know how it hangs together. And it's the same config for root and samples, all looking at the same canvas samples database.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the web apps, that's that folder. Okay, now I'll show you another thing in here. I actually think I'd done this before. So if you go /admin, you get to an admin console. Username is also admin with a blank password. Now this doesn't go to TM1. This basically stores canvas settings in JSON files somewhere.
Okay.
And I think I actually just once restart the service. And so it's always whatever URL your web app has, and then /admin, like this. If I enter it like this, that would go to the admin of the root folder. I just want to double check. Yeah. Just want to reset this so that I can show it again. Okay, so that's saved now. What we have in here and what you can well use for your for creating pages for the different tasks, and just a shortcut so that you don't have to configure it yourself and can be sure that it works. So like in your case, you would create blank canvas pages. I will show you another one now, which is a simple slice, as an example to look at some components and how they work together. But you would most likely start with a blank canvas page and then create it from there.
Okay.
So here the login was for TM1 because I want to do a slice here. I select the instance. You have seen only one was configured, and this would now give me a list of cubes.
Okay.
And I go in this case to the currency exchange rates, and I can select a view which is default. And you can see now a couple of dimensions in the title elements, some in rows, some in columns, and that is exactly the same you're gonna get in this cubes currency exchange rates. It's the same arrangement here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and give it a name in here, currency. You can also choose an icon here for the menu, and then I create that page. So it's created now, and if I go in a new tab, localhost 8080, I would get a page currency here, which is now already created for me. So that's not the stuff you will have to do, because you obviously it's more for like our Canvas customers who want a quick starting point. So what we expect from you is obviously to code it from scratch, but you can see it as an example. So it's created all the controls here now and has a simple data entry template. You can see TM1 actually respects whether we can write to a cell or not. And so if I change March, even though it doesn't make sense, to 5 here for AUD, it will actually, the directive will actually automatically update in the cube. So if I go here and just refresh that, you see March has changed to 5. Yeah, so it has that write back capability to TM1. It displays what's in there and it writes back to it as well. Go straight to the cube and it's handled by the directive. So that page is now pretty simple as it was created. I'll show you what it actually did in this moment. So if we go to root, it's all stored in 2 folders, HTML and JS. And what it would do by default, it creates one currency HTML because I called that page currency, and it also puts it here into controllers, creates a currency JS.
Okay.
This one would essentially be not even blank, but it put some keys in here, so it just took some hard-coded elements, but yeah, it's just an example. If you create a blank page, the controller will be blank, and the only thing that it does, like, has that shell where it would inject the TM1 UI service so that it can be used in scope and root scope. And then in case you need any other kind of libraries or whatever, you obviously do what you would do in Angular.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that hopefully better than I do. Okay, and the currency HTML is actually that one. This one now has quite a lot of hard-coded stuff in it. It only generated down here in the table the TM1 UI DBR. That is explained as well, and this one basically has the options what is the cube and what are the elements.
Okay.
And the just in a comma separated list. Excuse me. So, and the elements could either be hard-coded or more often come from ng models, from variables that you have defined in your page. So, like in this case, first dimension is version. One important thing I should just tell you, the order of the dimensions always has to be the same, like in the cube.
Yeah, okay.
So in this case, we have here this Angular variable, page titles version, and oh yeah, that actually has a sub-nm here. So and you have a TM1 UI sub-nm, and that has ng model page titles version, and that's obviously how you get it in there. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So simple actually. Yes. Like
okay.
You get it a predefined directory. So we don't need to write a new thing for this.
Yeah, for this simple example, not, but in your tasks, you will have. So just trying to like you always see the Angular stuff, you know it all well, and the I just want to make the point how it connects to TM1 and where the links,
Yeah. Okay.
So for your tasks, you could then just create a blank page, and then start writing your controller. Sorry, my phone. Okay, so that's one example, and I would now, if you don't have any questions so far, I would then go into the explaining the tasks. So I've prepared three tasks basically. I don't have a real expectation, so like it doesn't matter with what you start and with which task you start. You should probably try to tick off these three tasks, but then how exactly you do that, I leave it pretty much up to you. So like how you write the code, whether you want to put it into different folders, different files, add external libraries, use ECMAScripts, do whatever you want, what you think is the best thing to do. So after that, we will, like, you will explain it to me when we do like the presentation back to us. You'll explain your thoughts, why you did it in a certain way, and you can also bring in new ideas, play around with other things, go crazy, be creative, do whatever you want. So that's, yeah, the tasks are a starting point, so that's what I would expect, but what do you do above and beyond it, or do it differently? So by all means, yeah, really be creative and show what you're good in. Also, if you want to put in some custom CSS, design it in a fancy way, whatever. Yeah, do what you think. Do what you think is right.
Yeah.
So the first thing that's actually not. Yeah, let's start with that one. So one task would be, I've seen that currency cube, and that was empty. And one task would be, I found this API service, don't know whether you know it or not. I think it's probably more a European thing, and it fetches, so this provides a JSON API and with exchange rates from the European Central Bank.
Okay.
And so it's a pretty simple API, so it's explained here. And the goal here would be, we have an interface where, and again, so you don't have to take notes unless you want to, because I'll send you the explanation as well of the tasks with all the information and all the links. But what we want to do is fetch the daily rates of a month, calculate an average, and write it back into a cell in TM1. So basically, if I bring up that cube again, where we want to have those rates, so the way this cube works is that's the currency from, which is, I've set it to AUD because I'm based in Australia. If you want to make it another currency, please go ahead. But the user should then be able to select one or multiple currencies he wants the rates for, and then you should be able to click a button, and we should then fetch, like this is 2017 January, and we want then to fetch the daily rates of January and calculate an average, because this is supposed to be the average rate, and the cube doesn't have a day or a date in it. It only has year and month. So something to loop through, or however you can query that API and fetch all the daily rates for January 2017 or whatever other month the user selects, and then write the result, the average rate. So basically just total of the rates divided by the number of days back into this cell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just going to get the data from that API. So how will we like posting the data to our cube? So whether I will get any kind of post method over here, post URL here, or like
it's not a post URL, but what you would use for that is the TM1 UI service. Let's go again here. Localhost. Help, and we have the TM1 UI service here.
then process.
We wouldn't run a process, so we have this cell set put that would basically be able to write a number of elements into the cube. So that's the function in the TM1 UI service, and that's the syntax how you would pass it in. So you can create an array. So that means you could even, if it's just for one month, so it would only be one set here where we say that's my value. So that would be the rate you have calculated based on whatever you retrieved from the Fixer.io API, and then instance is def. Cube in this case would be the currency exchange cube, currency exchange rates, and then cube elements, and that would just be the elements in the same order of the dimensions. So if we look at the cube structure, it would then, with that cube, be something like actual 2017 Jan, AUD, Indian rupee, whatever the currency is, and then in the currency measure you would put it to average rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how we, like, one purpose and cool thing about Canvas is, since we have all these Angular services, it's even a lot more straightforward than doing post requests or something. So it's actually a lot easier because that is already prepared.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be one task, and then I'll write that down again. So it would then be good to display the same table as well, like similar table, like thinking the user does a selection, and then of whatever selection he did and updated the rates, he should see the rates. So if he, for example, decides update all rates of 2017, you should see a little table with the month. Obviously, by now they would only go till May, and display the calculated average rates there.
Okay. Yeah.
Table, maybe a chart, whatever you like. For all that stuff, like displaying the table and the chart, you can by all means make use of the components we already have.
Okay.
So you'll...
Okay. I'm sorry. So the Fixer.io will give all the currency which we have in the queue, so that so if suppose there might be missing of some kind of currencies. So is there any way get only the currency type in our queue? Is there any API for that?
They would all be in there. So to be honest, I didn't completely check it, but it has like really all. It's from the European Central Bank, and it would be the complete list of all currencies, and plus the this would it's also the same syntax, like that 3-digit code for the currency, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, okay. And also apart from Fixer.io, it's we have so much of currency, right, in our queue. So is there any API for getting currency alone, so that if suppose I'll be matching of Europe, then I will push the data to that column, that queue?
Can you repeat that? I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Like, so in this Aman, the fixer.io, we will be like getting all the currency along with that rates, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And also in another hand, like in our cube, we will be having all kind of currency rates. I mean, only currencies.
We don't have all currencies in there. It's only a selection what we have in there. So you can basically see it here. So these are the currencies that we have and that the user should be able to select.
Okay, okay.
But let me maybe just save this as a subset. Just save that as currency list here so that you can use that in your query.
Oh, okay, okay. But what I thought, like, it should be a generic one. If suppose like, if any of the currency is not there, so I thought of updating into a cube and also with a rate.
Yeah, so it's the user should be able to select a single or multiple currencies to retrieve.
Okay, okay.
All right, so that's one task. The next one is about these hierarchies we talked about and a front end to maintain them. So I actually know this component, which is Angular JS tree component. I'm not sure whether you have used it already. Have you?
No, but I went through it because for one of my module, like I thought of using it. Actually, it's kind of like notes for the doctors. So we thought of using it, but we couldn't use it at the time.
Okay. Then now you will be able to use it.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thanks.
So what we want to do is maintain a hierarchy, and let me actually just quickly reset this with a process because I tried it before. And it's for the department dimension. You find it, for instance, in the general ledger cube. There we have the department dimension, and what we want to do is create a custom hierarchy.
Okay.
So which looks like this one. And then we want basically the single departments, so the lowest level, put them into these groups and consolidations of bad departments, good departments, other departments. And so what should happen, the user should get the department list on the left tree.
Okay.
So here there will be a list of the departments.
Okay.
And on the right-hand side tree, the user should get this custom structure and then be able to drag and drop single departments into bad departments, good departments, other departments. So yeah, if that is my R&D department, I should be able to drop that into, if there was good departments, to drop it in there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and select it. What we then have to, this is obviously then only happening in the front end at the moment. And the way we intend to get that back to into TM1 and update that hierarchy would be two things. One is filling an attribute with the parent element, and then we have a process already that would do the job of then updating the hierarchy.
Okay.
So I'll show you what that looks like if I go back to the server. Department, if I right click on this, I can edit the element's attributes. I've created a parent attribute. So elements can have attributes, can be that further described. Like here the departments, the element name is actually this, like 1, 2, 0. And then we have a description, which is an alias. This is why we were able to use the element names instead of the code. So TM1 isn't fuzzy about using codes. You can always use code and description. But what we need for this task is, once we have updated it and put, let's say, the R&D, research and development department we had before into good department in the tree, what you should then do after the user presses save, update that attribute for research and development and set it to good departments. Good departments, let's move this as well, and let's say we have only one bad department and only one other department. So that's how we would have dragged and drop the elements. And then based on that JSON string, you do something that figures out what is the parent of that element and then set that attribute. Setting that attribute you can do with another function in the service we already have. Attribute put it is. So attribute put, all you have to do is figure out that element is underneath what parent, and then you take the value here, which would be the name of the parent element, i.e. good department, for instance.
Okay.
And then you go def, which is your TM1 instance, and dimension would be department. The element is the current element, like research and development, and the attribute would be parent. So it's all described here.
Okay.
And I guess it should make sense. You put that attribute, that's like first step to get the hierarchy, and then we have a process that just uses that attribute to update that hierarchy. I will now run that process manually here and then show you where you find it in the service as well. So that's the process, bedrock dim hierarchy create from attribute.
Okay.
It's going to be the only process you have to run for these tasks. So then obviously we need to pass parameters. So in this case we go department. The name of our attribute is parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then the root element is custom structure. Just go here, yeah. Custom structure is the root element we define here, and just go on there. Need these optional ones, and we need one to unwind. So, but I have already written down like the parameter names and stuff you have to pass in there. So I'll run that now successfully. That's going to be a status you get back from the service as well when you've executed the process, and so you should then also show a success message at the end.
Yeah.
So go back here.
Mention departments.
Go to departments and then go to my custom structure, and I should now have everything according to the attributes I've set. If we just compare that again, go here, attributes. So you can see here, good department or bad department was executive, general, and administration. Other departments NA, and all the rest are good departments in my case.
Oh, okay.
Is that clear so far? It's probably the one that involves the highest level of TM1 understanding of the tasks, but does it?
Okay. So it's like, so basically like we have to use that functions. So that function will like do all the kind of backend process. So in this case, we will be like using of attribute put by passing that value. So it will like update all the things in the backend. That's what, right?
Well, the attribute put will only update these here, and these don't update the hierarchy. For that, you have to run that process.
Yeah.
Yeah, the process I've just shown you, and let me just jump back to the help here. Let's process execute. So, and that's how you run the process by using the TM1 UI service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go process execute, name of the process, and then you have parameter name 1 and value.
Okay.
Parameter 2 and value. So, yeah, should be straightforward enough. Let me just bring up that email. Like, I've like written it down step by step, and with what parameters to use and what's the process name. So you have all that information in here, with also some screenshots, right?
Okay.
So I'm gonna send you all that stuff. And otherwise, so you can also, I told you I'm in Orlando at the moment, and I will fly back to Sydney actually tonight. That means I'm not available tomorrow, but if you have any questions like on Sunday or something, so if you get terribly stuck somewhere and just where you have the feeling, oh, I just need to know that little thing and then I can do everything, so then just send me an email, and I will get back to you. Yeah. So that was task 2. Pardon?
Okay, please go, sir.
And I have a third one as well.
Okay.
So any questions to this second task, or?
No. I'm okay. I'm okay with it. Yeah, please.
Oh, okay. So then the third one is a more visual one. So what we have in Canvas already is a number of chart directives. We use Angular NVD3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we have a couple of chart components already. Let me just open up. So again, so there's heaps of examples. We have chart components. You have to log in again. Admin. So there we can even like look at the HTML code directly as well, but that's sort of the chart components we have here, and chart directives. So we say what type is it, discrete bar chart in this case, and then we can embed DBR. So the DBR you saw in the first example when I created that example with the currency rates, and this is a similar one also documented in the help. So we give it a label, and then it's again the same. We say what TM1 instance, always there for you. What is the cube and what are the elements in the order of the dimensions in the cube. So this would now give me just the whatever is selected up the top here for region, year, and so on, takes it from the models up there. And then we have one DBR for January, one for February, one for March.
Okay. Okay.
So this is how the existing chart components work. So there are several ones. They're all pretty similar in terms of the used HTML code and stuff.
Yeah.
So should be all right. So that's how the existing chart components work. But what I would like you to do is build a new one, which is that bullet chart here.
Okay, bullet chart.
Have you ever seen a bullet chart before?
No, this is the first time I'm just seeing.
They're not the most common ones, but
okay.
What it basically displays here is revenue, and we have a current value, and then we have a little marker like this one here, which shows like a target value.
Okay.
And then we can have different ranges of shades of gray here that tell us, how good or bad is it. So this would be like so-so, and that would be in the minimum range, and that would be in a fairly good range. We don't even do it that complex, and then I have explained it. So I did a Plunker screenshot here. Down here. So I saved this view in the general ledger cube, and we basically want to display bullet charts. So I've just opened it in Plunker, and basically it should look roughly like this one. And it only has 3 values, so we only put 1 in the ranges here, which is the last year. Like this is an example now I've just keyed in here what it would look like for Scandinavia.
Okay.
So last year is just the only value in ranges. That just gives us the gray background. The measure is the actual value, so 630. That's the blue bar.
Okay.
And the marker is the 925. Maybe I'd keyed in something differently because it's not really displaying 925, or it wasn't updated. Anyways, so the marker should be the budget.
Oh, okay.
So that little icon here should be the budget value, the blue bar, and the background is the last year. So that bullet chart would tell us how far away are we from budget and how does it relate to the previous year.
Okay.
And ideally you would create a component for that which we can address in a similar manner like the existing charts.
Okay.
So that means it's not like hard-coded in the service what values it gets, but we can actually like put a DBR formula sort of in here, and then however you handle that, but I must be able to define what is my measure, what is my target value, and what are the values in the range. I should be able to define that inline the chart, so it should be a proper component, and I would like to define these values inline.
Yeah, okay, okay, yeah, got it, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, this is it. Everything you would, or anything you would like to do above, beyond that, play around with it because it's so much fun for you, or you want to show off, go for it. So yeah, it certainly won't hurt. And yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you have any doubts on TM1 side or need explanation more on TM1 as well, you can call me, TM1 and Canvas. You can call me as well. I can help you with possibly how much ever I can do it, I can help you with. Else you can send a mail also.
Yeah, sure. So like I have few doubts over here. This is regarding like of implementation. So so far like I have used of editor like Sublime for just for coding stuff, but here I have to use like black canvas pages. Yeah.
So like the blank canvas pages, that's only how you create the page so that it gives you the HTML and the controller, but you can do everything you want, and also you can mess around completely with the server. So if you want to install other modules, other software, obviously please don't put any pirate copies or something on the server, so it has to be legal stuff.
I would.
But if you use like any other editor of your choice, you have full admin rights on the server, you're gonna have RDP access, and you can, it's your server, so you can go crazy with it. Just don't change the password for the administrator user.
No, I won't.
But beside that, so you can install everything, open things in the firewalls, and yeah.
No, I'm
do
okay
whatever
with
you
like
want.
Notepad++ also, so I don't have any problem with it. But so far, like we went through that the blank page, right? So I thought I'll be like coding inside that application. So that will be like kind of editor. So that's what I was thinking. No, I will use that Notepad++. It's no problem for me actually.
Yeah.
And then second thing is like for the chart, right? So so for the chart, is there any service for? Is there any service for the like listing the data?
Yes, there is. So if the help's still open. So the best one is probably, like I've shown you the cell set put before, yeah, for writing, and similarly there's a cell set get.
Okay.
Yeah, which basically expects the the same kind of thing. Instance, cube, there you obviously don't need the value because you don't write anything, so you just define an array which has the instance, the cube, and then the cube elements.
Okay. Is there any example for this? For like here, what they have mentioned is like server time, so string. So is there any example for that? Just a basic stuff.
Yeah, I think that cube even exists. So in this example, so there's a system info cube. That one only has 2 dimensions. It's just for a few settings values, but so just rearrange that stuff here a little bit. this. Let's do it this way around. So here, cell set get, and in the example we go on instance def, and cube is system info, so that's that cube, and this array here would just give me cube elements server time string.
Okay.
So in these two dimensions we would just have server time string, so that cell would be returned by that function.
Oh, okay. So for all kind of functions, for in this help page we have like so many functions. So for all the functions, is there any this kind of examples over there? So that like for example, we went through that cell get put, right?
Cell set put, yeah.
Cell set put, yes. So
oops. Yep, there's a similar example here. So that's when we wanted to write the value test to server time string.
Okay.
Yeah, and these should, I believe we probably went through all the service calls or functions you would need. But yeah, have a look around, and if you find something that you think you could use or want to use or try out, then do that as well. But cell set put, cell set get, so it's called cell set because it would be a set of cells. You can pass in an array which retrieves not one value at a time, like in this simple example, but retrieves a couple of values. If you just build an array and you define the string, like the dimensions for multiple values, like for the bullet chart, you could possibly do it that way. Get from the directive the three dimension definitions and put them all into one cell set get call. And then you get the result with three values and can display the bullet chart.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. And the next thing is like where will be like writing the directive. So if suppose I want to write a directive in a separate page and I want to link with the controller. So where will be like writing this directive?
You can create a JS file, just like in the JS folder.
Okay.
And yeah, everything that is in JS will be automatically recognized and included. I believe if you write like a module, you probably have to add it in there, and let me just look here on the templates, pages.